Hello, everybody, and thank you for joining us. We are here, today's episode of Awakening with A Course in Miracles. My name is Craig Villarrubia, and I'm excited about today's guest. We have Michael Murray coming to us from LA live this morning. But before I introduce or bring on Michael, I just want to share a couple of logistics and announcements. Tomorrow, if you're inspired to join, I'm hosting a I'm hosting a webinar event titled SOAR. This is the Google Hangout. Tomorrow is the 2-hour event titled SOAR, which I'm excited to share and extend. I will be sharing and extending 7 core principles or teachings from A Course in Miracles that have profoundly affected my experience or the way I experience life, and I'd like to share that with everybody. So that's tomorrow. We go live at 9 a.m. Pacific, noon Eastern. If you want to learn more about that, just go check out my website, craigvillarrubia.com, or look on Facebook. I have a lot of postings, and I've been sharing about this event for quite some time. Also in April is A Course in Miracles Vegas conference, April 8th through the 9th. I will be there with my dear friend, mighty companion, Corinne Zupko, representing Miracle Share. So if you're inspired to come to Vegas, come to Vegas. Also, when I introduce Michael Murray, I'm going to also give him an opportunity to share what he's got going on, because I do believe there's also another conference in Ireland, but I'll let him give you more details about that event as well. And then in May, come join me in Hawaii. I'm having a retreat here at my home, here at the ranch at the Center for the Waking Mind. A retreat for 1 week in the middle of May, as well as a retreat in Colorado, where I'll be joined with Gary Renard, David Hoffmeister, Bruce Rawls, David Fishman, Lori Coburn, and Maria Felipe. So please join. I'd love to see you. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and start today's episode. Today's theme or topic is the happy dream. And for me, the happy dream is really coming into the recognition of what's true, what is reality, despite the perception that seems to arise in front of us. So I know being here today with you is symbolic of the happy dream, as I come in celebration to strengthen these ideas of truth, of love, and with that, I want to welcome my guest today, Michael Murray. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you, Craig, and thank you so much for the invite, and it's just wonderful to be here today to join you and the people who are watching in and the people who are joining in the Google Hangout. I have been a follower of yours in Miracle Share, believe it or not, but I have just been kind of so busy, wrapped up in my own kind of work, like I kind of see what everybody else is doing, but I don't really kind of get in any deeper what people are doing. So when you sent out the invite to come here today, I was only too delighted to join you. So thank you, Craig.
Well, thank you. So today's topic, Michael, is the happy dream. So I just wanted to get your thoughts. What comes to mind? And what would you share in regards to the happy dream and how it's unfolded in your experience, or how it unfolds in your experience?
Well, the first thing I would have to say, can I ask you a question?
Of course.
Yeah. Which happy dream are you on about?
I'm sorry, what was that?
Which happy dream do you mean?
Which what I was referring to is basically the happy dream the Course talks about. And you know, when I think about what that means to me, I think simply that here I am having an experience of what seems like a separate body with you, talking to you on the screen, and other people. So there's definitely a perceptual experience of separation, but simultaneously, there's a joy that comes with recognizing that despite this perception of separation, there's a truth that unifies us.
Yeah.
And when that truth is in my awareness, my experience is it is a happy dream. There's a recognition that despite the illusion being there, there's a joy about being here because it's not seen as reality. That's not to say that there are my moments where I get confused. And there is confusion, in which case the happy dream turns into what seems like a nightmare.
Right.
But even that's okay too, because I find that the tools that have been offered by the Course can be used in the moments where confusion takes place,
That's right.
in which the happy dream is restored to awareness.
Okay. Now, the way that I teach the course, Craig, is I break it down into levels. Okay, there's 5 levels within the course. Okay, and they're very clear in the course. So the course is a big, big book, and just to try to take the course as one block it's impossible. It's totally impossible because a lot of confusion comes in with the levels. Is there somebody switched on there?
That's me.
All right, okay. Oh, right. I was just getting another voice in my ears there. So with the level confusion comes into it. So when you were talking about the happy dream first there, what you were talking about was level 2. Okay? And then when you lost that, you come back into level 1 again, which is back into the world, the ego's form of the happy dream. So to the ego also has a happy dream, and that happy dream is when you get everything that you want, all your needs met, when you get all your expectations met, when you get basically everything that you want in the world goes your way. Okay? That's the happy dream for the ego. And that dream always turns into a nightmare. Okay? So what we're doing and what the course is showing is exactly what you just discussed there, Craig, right? It's our perception of the people around us. You're still seeing separation, but now you're coming from that right-minded, the Holy Spirit's perception of oneness. And people say to me, how do I get to level 2? What do I need to do to get into that mindset? Because there's 2 conditions for you to be in that mindset and for you to stay in that mindset. Okay? So the first condition is this. You must take 100% responsibility for everything in your life. If you're not willing to do that, there's no access into that Holy Spirit mind. There's no access into your true right mind. Because like you said, you're basically now dealing with what's true. Not what's right or not what's good, but what's true. There's a big difference in those. So can I just use a little diagram here for a second just to explain to you? I just threw this. Yeah, I just threw this morning, okay? So it kind of shows the levels here, okay? So this is level 1. So in the course, level 1 means this: you have the world, you have the body, and you have the ego split mind. Okay, so most people in the world think the world is dualistic. It's a dualistic world. It's not. And Jesus says that in the course. He says the world is neutral. So what we do is we're attached to this mind of right and wrong, of good and bad. This is the ego wrong mind, the ego right mind. This is the ego split mind that you read about in the course. So we in the body are attached to this mindset, and what we do then, we project this mindset onto the world. So everything now in the world we see as right or wrong or good or bad. And the thing about this, Craig, is right. You see these 2 rooms here? One is everything in the past, one is everything in the future. There's no present moment in this mindset. There's only past and future. And this is why it's been so difficult for so many people to access the now, the present moment, because they're trying to do it in this mindset and there's no present moment here. So what Jesus is saying in the course is, right, you need to get to here. This is the Holy Spirit. This is the true right mind. So do you remember what Einstein said? Einstein said, you can't solve a problem on the same level where the problem's created. And that's what everybody's trying to do. They're trying to solve the problems here in the world, and they're trying to solve it by right and wrong or good and bad, sorting that out. So what the course is showing us, we can only solve the problems in the world when we get to this level. When we get into the true right mind, we have true perception. Now we can see clearly what the problem is, and we can see what the solution is. So there's no happy dream here at this level, because this is the ego's happy dream. So your perception will change, and your happy dream starts here with you taking complete responsibility for everything here. The other condition is this, is complete acceptance for what is. All right? This is the movie that's happening all the time outside of us. It's going on all the time. And if we try to change that movie, change the actors, you know, move actors out, bring actors in, you know, when we do this with our relationships, then we're changing nothing. The only way we can change what's on this screen is from this position here. And when we have this position corrected, these two now disappear, and you wake up on level 3 awake. That is the real happy dream on level 3, because it's without judgment. This level is judgment, this level is non-judgment, and this level is without judgment. And like Jesus says in the Course, what is love? Love is the absence of judgment. So we need to go through the levels, we need to go through the right mind to basically ascend into the true happy dream, which begins with your higher self in that recognition when you become your higher self. So for me, when I hear people talking about the happy dream, I hear them talking about it on many different levels. And I would ask them what their happy dream is, and they're nearly always talking about level 4, 5, or 6 up there, right? But they have to get to 2 first. You know, you have to go to the mind of correction. You have to get the tools, which is forgiveness, to take you into that mindset. And I mean, forgiveness means you're taking complete responsibility. So for me, you know, get to level 2, get into that true-minded perception, and now your happy dream can begin from there. Because if you're listening to the ego on level 1 about the happy dream, then you're in for a nightmare just around the corner.
Thank you for sharing. That's beautiful, and it helped. The visual definitely helped with understanding. Can you share a little bit more about how you came into view the Course on levels? Because I've talked to a lot of people, and I think you're one of the first people who speaks to the Course in terms of these levels. And if you could take a moment to just describe each level and how it applies in this work that we.
Yeah, well, I'm not really the first person. My mentor would have been a person who would have been discussing levels long before I came into the Course, and that would have been Ken Wapnick. Ken was probably the master teachers of those 2 bottom levels, okay, level 1, level 2. And Ken was ruthless in his style, like he was very ruthless with the truth. And I loved that about him, like, you know, he didn't basically mince his words. He was very tough. But I think that's required, you know, you have to be tough with yourself at some point where you have to start putting up with no nonsense. Because, like Jesus says in the Course, we're too tolerant of mind wandering. And that means we're listening to so many stories in our minds. The ego is just constantly telling us stories. And we're believing them. We're attaching our minds to those stories, like, you know. So how did I come into the Course? Well, the first thing I have to say is I was not a Course student. I wasn't a student of the Course. And to be quite honest, Craig, I don't think I could have ever been a student of the Course. Why? Because I just had too big of an ego. You know, I just wanted to be a real success in the world, and I would not have handed anything over. Okay, so how did this all develop for me? Well, I chose a different path. My path was called, or what could be described as, the dark night of the soul. I wasn't spiritual. I never read a spiritual book in my life. And I was trying to be a success in the world. The one thing I was a master of being the victim. Every part of my life I was a victim. I was a victim of my body because I had 4 near-death experiences. I had several operations. I spent many years in hospital with a lot of physical and mental pain around that. I was a victim at school. I was bullied at school. I was bullied by my teachers. I was bullied by basically the students around that. I went into the world. I was bullied at work. You know, I was the perfect victim. And it's a very dark script to write for yourself, the victim. But we're all victims at the end of the day. But around 1999, it got very, very dark for me. I went into really a part of me where everything was being taken away from me. The victim now really moved up levels, and I was basically I was held under kind of virtual house arrest for 10 years by what you would call corrupt police in Ireland. And that was, that was my hell. I went through basically hell. I knew what they were doing was completely wrong, and I was powerless to stop them doing what I was doing. So everything was taken away from me. And I lost my friends, my reputation, my freedom. I lost everything. And I was stripped down, naked to nothing left. Everything was completely gone. And in that moment, I remember it was the 22nd of September 2008. And I got down on my knees, and I had a choice to make. And the choice was to kill myself. And I couldn't do it because I had 2 children that I loved dearly. The marriage kind of ended very quickly, and the children went with their mother, so I kind of lost them too, and that was heartbreaking. And all of that, I carried the guilt of being a bad father, because the marriage didn't work out. I took all this guilt upon myself, and really the decision to kill myself, I just couldn't add any more pain to my children's life, so I said no. And all of a sudden, something else happened. A new thought came into my mind at that time. And this thought was so ridiculous. It was unbelievable. And the thought was somehow that I was responsible. I was doing all of this to myself. And that thought sent shivers up through my whole spine, up through my whole body, because I was positive that these people had victimized me. They were the criminals. They were the bad people. They deserved punishment. They needed to go to hell. And all of a sudden, this thought came to me. And I knew something inside me told me that this thought was true. So all of a sudden, there was this confrontation between 2 forces inside me of this battle over this one thought. Was this true or was it not true? And the ego put up a good case. The ego is a great litigator, okay? And the ego convinced me why this thought was true, but this other thought wouldn't leave. So I stayed with this other thought because it was new. And all of a sudden, I went to bed that night, and I slept for the first time in many, many years. I was at peace. And for the next 7 days, I walked this world totally at peace. And I was astounded by the peace I had. The ego, there was no voice there anymore. That voice was gone. The voice of hate, the voice of revenge, the voice of basically murder, it was gone. And I was at peace. And 7 days later, I had what you would call a spiritual awakening. I had another out-of-body experience. And I was sitting with my son, and in that moment, I basically transcended the physical world into my higher self. I went into the light. I have all of this. I'm only giving you a quick kind of description here because my book's been published today also, so the full story is in this book. But that changed everything for me completely. And that was on the 29th of September 2008. And for the next 4 months, I just walked in total bliss. I was in bliss of everything. I could talk to the birds. I could melt into a tree. The tree could become me. I was the tree. All of this was happening to me, and I was mesmerized by what I could see in the world and how I'd never seen all of this before. So then on the 20th of February 2009, which is today, exactly 7 years ago, I basically had what the Course would call revelation. And I was sitting with my cousin. We were both sitting listening to some music. And I felt another out-of-body experience happening, so I just grabbed her hand. And I was just lifted up out of myself into this mindset, into this, what I describe as heaven. It was the total oneness. I was in the presence of this divine, and I'm not going to say God because you know, to me now, I don't see God as God. I see God as everything. I mean, I see God in you, Craig. I see God in everybody that I meet, you know. So to me, God is the awareness of love that's all around us. And that's my God. You know, I can feel the love of you. I can feel the love of other people. That's God, you know. So in that moment, at that moment changed everything in my life, because the first experience was amazing. The second experience was unbelievable, but the third one, every time I try to describe what it was like, Craig, I lose it. I can't find the words that just basically describe this. But in that moment, over the next 7 days, I never slept at all. Over the last 7 years, I sleep about an hour, maybe 2 hours a day, or at nighttime. When you basically wake up, you literally wake up. And what happened was, I wasn't prepared for this, because I didn't know anything about meditation. I didn't know what was happening. I had nobody to go to. So I had to kind of learn to do this. So it took me 2 years to learn to meditate, you know, to bring the vibration down. I have trouble trying to keep my vibration down on the earth. I drink a lot of coffee, and people will think, oh, that'll put your vibration up, but it actually brings my vibration down, like, you know. But within a couple of days of that experience, I began to basically have this inner voice. I had this inner, what I call my inner teacher. And a friend handed me the book, my cousin Diane. She handed me this book as a present, and I opened the book, and the title said, A Course in Miracles. And then the inner voice says, basically, this is A Course in Miracles, and basically, I call on you to help to awaken our brothers. And there was a pause, and I knew I had to answer, and the answer was completely yes. So what I did at that moment, I began opening the book. This was February 2009, and I set up my first group in March 2009. I did my first talk in April 2009. So everything happened very quickly after that, Craig. And the way that I see the Course is, I see the Course in symbols. I'm dyslexic, which means that people who have dyslexia kind of see the world a little bit different than the way other people see the world. So what that means is, I see everything in images. I see everything in symbols. So when I was reading the Course, all I seen was the symbols. Because to me, when I read the part that words are symbols of symbols twice removed from reality, well, I see that Helen was given the words, and I see that I was given the symbols, and it was my job to put the words into the symbols, and that's what I will be doing in the next 2 to 3 books that I have already written. Basically, it's all the symbols in the Course, the structure of the mind, the levels in the Course, and the structure of the separation itself, the metaphysics of the separation. That's really cool stuff. So that's how my journey came into the Course. And sometimes I feel a little bit of a fraud, because I wasn't a student of the Course, do you know? And people kind of, you know, I'm kind of, you know, promoting the Course to people, and some people say, well, you didn't do this, do you know? But I says, it's all the same. We end up in the same place, do you know? So, you know, that's my journey.
It's beautiful. Yeah, most people, including myself, come to the Course wanting to get a revelatory experience, or wanting to have a revelatory experience. And here you are, you had the revelatory experience before the Course came in. That just goes to show you that you know, what's to unfold is going to unfold. And you know, although the Course, in my experience, started off as something to get, the ultimate recognition is that there was never really anything to get, because we always had it.
Right. That's right. That's right. And what people have to realize also, Craig, is the person who's doing the Course, the person who's doing all the forgiveness, the person who's going through the hell, is the person you have to leave behind.
Yeah.
Because, you know, your higher self is looking out through your eyes. It's perfect, knows everything, doesn't have to get any information out of this book, or get any information out of that book, or learn this or know this. The higher self basically is one with God. It's God's perfect creation. So you know, we need to get this, what I call the separated self. Okay, the separated self is not the higher self. It's the separated self who went into the bookstore to buy the course. It was the separated self who basically took it off the shelf and thought it was really cool. Hello? Have you broken up there, Craig? No? Hi. Oh, right. Your screen's froze there.
I can hear you.
All right.
I think maybe Craig dropped out, but I think everyone else can hear you. I can.
Hi, Mark?
Yes, this is Mark.
Yeah. No, nice to meet you, Mark.
Oh, wonderful to meet you. I loved your story.
Oh, thank you.
It really impressed me. And your description of the happy dream and the world being neutral and we project this right and wrong onto it, that was perfect, exactly what I needed to hear.
Ah, lovely. Ah, lovely. Lovely.
Because I've been struggling a little bit with being in the world but not in the world, and you know those kinds of tugs, you know, between the world and
yeah.
I guess what the course is leading you to, and I've been undergoing a little bit of struggle there.
Yeah. Well, Mark, let me show you this for a second, just
Sure.
if you can see it. Right. Well, you see here in this mindset, okay, you're in the world. Level 1, you're in the world, okay? So here you're in the world, but now you're not of the world, because here you're at the higher level of consciousness in your right mind. So this is you being in the world, but not being in the world, not of the world, because your mind's at a higher level, but your body's still in the world. Does that make sense?
It makes perfect sense. It does. And even though I've been going through what I call a struggle, it hasn't been a struggle that's torn me apart, but it's just kind of a struggle that I've allowed myself to have, if that makes weird sense. It's not like I'm fighting against the struggle. I just recognize I've got the struggle going on, so I'll pray.
Let me show you exactly where the struggle is and how you're causing the struggle. Okay? Again, we'll go to this, and I describe this in the book very clearly, right? So this part of the mind here, right, is the shadow. It's in darkness. It's suffering very, very greatly, okay?
Mm-hmm.
This part of the mind is seeking for the answers to this part of the mind, okay? Here's the most unbelievable thing. It's this part of the mind that's seeking for the answers that's causing all the darkness in this side of the mind. This is the ingenious of the ego. This mind, when you read in the Course where Jesus says the mind at war with itself, this is the mind here that's at war with itself, because this is the shadow and the persona. So what is the persona? The persona is the seeker, the searcher, the planner, the doer. As long as you're spending your life seeking, planning, doing, you're adding fuel to the shadow, which is basically going to envelop you into the nightmare that is level 1. So what I say to people now is get the tools out of the Course that take you to level 2. Leave everything else aside. You don't need to seek for knowledge. You don't need to seek for enlightenment. You're already enlightened. Just stop unenlightening yourselves. Everybody's enlightened. But like I did 2 videos, they're online. One's called the Ego's Toolbox and one's called the Holy Spirit's Toolbox. And that's what the Course is. Simply as that, it's a big toolbox. So in it, Jesus shows us all the tools that we're using of the ego. And he says if you continue to use those, you're going to suffer. He shows us the tools that's in it now for the Holy Spirit to waken up. So all we have to do is recognize these tools, stop using them, adapt these tools, start using them. Bob's your uncle, you wake up, hello God, and it's all over. Why is it so complicated?
It's not it's not complicated.
No. And Jesus says that throughout the whole Course over and over again. This is a simple Course. This book is simple. This Course is simple.
Right.
It's only the ego that complicates it.
Yeah, no, I love your description. I've never quite heard that description before, but it rings very true for me. So I think, yeah, if you've got a book out,
Yeah.
I'm going to buy it.
Are you sure you want to buy it? You didn't hear the title yet.
Oh yeah, I don't think you've said the title.
Okay. Is it okay to say the title, Craig?
I would love for you to share what you can about it. I would love for you to. Yes.
All right. Okay, Mark. What I've did is, because we're living in a mind of duality. There's right and wrong. There's good and bad. There are people who are going to like you. There are people who are not going to like you. You put out a book. Some people are going to like that book. Some people are not going to like that book. Some people are going to like the title of your book, and some people are not going to like the title of your book. So what I decided to do was to cover both ends of the spectrum. So for all the proper people and all the people of intellect and good language and everything, the title of my book is called Wake Up, Life is But a Dream. I have decided then to put the same book out with a different cover and a different title, but it's effectively the same book. And the title of this book is called Wake to Fuck Up. So, life is but a dream. And the funny thing is, Craig, I did a survey, okay, of 300 people, and guess which one that everybody's going to buy? Anybody?
Wake the fuck up.
Yes, I wanted you to say it. Yes, funny thing is,
there.
out of the 300, one person said they were going to buy Wake Up.
That's funny.
Yeah. So, and it's a big book. There's 460 pages in it.
Wow. Wow. And so can you give us a little insight on the book? I mean, obviously it's a big book. You're sharing a lot, but what can we take away with, or what can we take away with regards to the book, or look forward to when we pick up the book?
Well, Craig, the book is what the title says in it. There's three types of people in the world. There are those who are spiritually asleep, there's those who are spiritually awakening up, and there's those who are awake. Okay? So what I have done is, those are the three levels that I teach from. Okay? And what I do is, if you are on a journey to wake up, if you're doing the course, the course is a step-by-step guide to wake up. And you know what Jesus says in the course, why fly with the wings of a sparrow when you can soar with the wings of an eagle? So what he's saying there, really, level 2 will bring you more peace. You know, you'll still have a great life in the world. You know, you'll still have attachments in the world, but you'll be looking at everything now through true perception. So your peace will come from that. But where I come from is, I take on a number of students every year, and I help people to take them up through the levels into level 3. So what that book is, it's basically a step-by-step simple guide how to wake up in this lifetime. Because there's two ways to do this. My way, everything was being taken away from me. All my special relationships, all my attachments, and it was very painful. I wouldn't recommend that way as a path, because most people who go down that path don't make it, because they die before that. It's that horrible of a path. So everybody in this world who woke up to this point in time has woke up through the dark night of the soul. Even Eckhart Tolle and Byron Katie, two of the great spiritual teachers in the world today, both woke up through the dark night of the soul. So, but what the course is given is, a step-by-step guide of letting go. When you're ready to let go of your attachments, when you're ready to let go of your pain, okay, now that's you handing over. That's you releasing. So that's the difference on the two paths. So what I see my purpose is to kind of take people and help them to go from level 1 to level 3, but they must go through level 2 also. So what I have been doing, and what I've been guided to do in this book, is to bring the Eastern philosophy symbols and the Western philosophy symbols together into that oneness. Because, you know, the yin and the yang, okay?
Yes.
That's that bottom level that I'm talking about. You know, the ego split mind. That's the yin and the yang at that level. There are also, you know the I am that I am. Well, everybody has got that screwed up also, because there's another I am they have to deal with first, and that is the I am not I am. Okay, so everybody's trying to get to the I am, which is the true I am, but what they have to do first is they have to recognize the I am not. You can't recognize the true I am until you fully understand who you're not. Okay, because you're going to get the both of them confused. So in that, I have basically tools that can separate those two identities, that people can stand outside and say, well, that's not me, that's not me, that's not me, and that's not me. Okay, and that's what people need to do eventually, because ultimately in this, what it comes down to is, how do you reinterpret the ego split mind? So the ego split mind is right and wrong and good and bad, yeah? So what Jesus is saying in the Course, you reinterpret that now from level 2, and what you put into those two rooms is what's true and what's false. And I watched a film here with Yogananda here in Los Angeles a couple of weeks ago. Beautiful, beautiful film. And he was describing his journey, how he was guided to come to Los Angeles also, and how he missed home and he was homesick. But coming near the end of the film, when his consciousness started to rise up, he started to see only what was real and what was unreal. He had transcended that mindset of right and wrong and good and bad. So in that transcendence is that mindset of level 2. If you want a true happy dream, if you really want peace in your life, you must transcend the mindset of right and wrong and good and bad into only what's true and only what's false. That's simple, and that's the beginning of your happy dream. So in the book, I discuss the levels. I discuss basically all the tools are in the Course that's in, in this book of mine. I've taken all the tools out of the Course and put them in there. I have taken all the ego's tools out of the Course and put them in there so people can see them. And they were a big eye-opener for a lot of people, Craig, because they didn't realize how many tools they were using of the ego. Like the Course says, displacement, sublimation, projection, denial, suppression, regression, altruism, reaction formation. They're all there, and everybody's using them every day. And that's what gives life force to the ego thought system, is the energy we put into those tools, we give it to the ego. So it's like this, Craig. It's like you're driving, okay, and you stop off and you pull into a car, right, and you fill up the ego. Everybody's doing this. In this body, the body's the vehicle, and what we're doing is we're continuously taking the energy, our true energy, our own energy, and we're filtering it out into the ego to make this world real. And that's what makes this world real, is our energy. So when Jesus says turn the other cheek, do you know what he meant?
Well, I'll give you an opportunity to share, because I think you have a little bit of a surprise for us.
Yeah.
A different perspective.
Yeah, well, it's not a different perspective. It's basically the truth, of where he was coming from. And that's how the Course started off. To turn the other cheek means, can you look at this another way? Okay, so it didn't mean to turn the other cheek and let someone, punch you in the face. It didn't mean to turn the other cheek and be upset with people, You see, what forgiveness in the Course, most people have got it completely upside down, because people are still trying to forgive other people. They're still trying to forgive what other people do. You can't do that, so stop it. Jesus says very clearly in the Course, you can't look on sin and forgive it. So stop it. You can only forgive yourself. So why do you forgive yourself? You forgive everything you react to is you have projected. So how do we know our projections? We react to them. So what is a projection? It's a thought that we have denied within ourselves. So when you see guilt in someone else, okay, and you react to that person, that person is saying, I have something that belongs to you. Okay? All right. Would you like to have it back? And most people go, no, I seen you doing that, or I heard you saying that, or I seen you doing this. So that's where the responsibility comes into. Everything you react to, you must take 100% responsibility. Why? Because you projected it. If you didn't project it, you wouldn't react to it. Because when you wake up in level 3, you're not going to have any reactions. So, because there's no projections. So, to understand projection, you must understand judgment. So, do you know how judgment works? When Jesus says, lead me not into temptation, what he was saying was, lead me not seek outside myself. I have lived the last 7 years every day in bliss, Craig. Do you know why? Because I'm not attached to anything that's outside myself. I seek nothing outside myself. I'm attached. I used all the tools in the course. I did all my detachments, because that's what forgiveness is. Forgiveness is detachment. And if you look at Eastern philosophy, that's what they do, is detachment. So Eastern and Western philosophies I bring together in this book, and I show basically how the symbols that we're all using, they're all the same. There's no difference in East, West, North, South, poles, or anywhere else, you know. So that's about the oneness that I'm trying to bring into that book and show everybody a simpler way to do this, because you can intellectualize the course, and that means you could spend maybe about 3,000 lifetimes doing it if you want, because the intellect really loves the intellect, and that's a big lesson for the intellect, to drop the intellect, because you have to let the intellect, at the end of the day, the thinker is the ego. You know, do you remember that Do you remember that beautiful line? I want to just finish with this, Craig, where Jesus says in the course, the problem is not what you think. The problem is that you think. Isn't that a beautiful line?
Yeah, it's very beautiful. And as you're talking, it's like the depth for which you know, some of the symbols and the words they're using. You were talking about forgiving the projection. You were talking about you know, I forgot the term that you used, but the thinker itself. Like all that, when we talk about forgiveness, what comes to my mind is all of that needs to be forgiven. So when we talk about forgive the projection, it's that thought that something actually happened. Like, you know, when we witness someone and we think they did something to us, that the actual imagery or the story that's unfolding in the mind, that is the projection. And so it's even that thought itself. You know, the Course makes it clear that forgiveness really does nothing. It looks upon without judgment, which is coming back to what you were just sharing. It's really the acceptance that everything truly is perfect. It's only in the thinking, it's only in the story that things wouldn't be perfect. Of course, the miracle says all things work for good. There are no exceptions, only in the ego's judgment, which really means only in the ego's storyline.
Yeah.
I want to take a moment to open it up, see if anybody wanted to share or ask questions at this time.
Don't be shy. Don't be shy.
And if not, that's okay too.
Well,
so Michael, please do.
And if someone wants to jump in, then they can. There's feedback coming back from someone. That it? Yeah, because I was hearing myself 3 or 4 times, and I don't like my own voice. So to hear my own voice 3 or 4 times is not nice. So basically, just when we were talking about our projections there, Craig, something that I thought that might be helpful to people. One person contacted me and they said they were doing this forgiveness lesson and they were using a technique that I have devised, or I've taken it out of the course, called ATF. It's called Advanced True Forgiveness. So what this person was doing, Craig, was they were basically morning, noon, night, they were doing forgiveness with this person. Okay? And they says it didn't work. And they came to me, right, and they says, this doesn't work, I've been doing this, and I've been doing this, and I've been doing this. So I went a little bit deeper into the story with this person, and as it turned out, they had a story. Everything's a story, like you says, right? Every thought, that thought basically develops into a story. Okay, and then in that story, there's roles. You'll be a victim or a victimizer. Somebody else will be a victim or a victimizer. It'll be a special love relationship, or it'll be a special hate relationship. So you have all of this drama going on from one thought. So what this person was doing is, the reason why they couldn't let this go was because they were trying to let go of a thought in the story, but they weren't willing to let the story go. As long as you keep the story, you keep everything in the story. Forgiveness must be total. When you detach from something, you must detach from it completely. So when people are holding on to their past, they hold on to some good things in their past, which means they keep everything else that's bad in their past. So if you look at your past is just a collection of stories that you have in your head. So every person that you have in your past, you have a drama, a story around them. And if you go into the drama and the story, you'll see the thoughts that you projected into it. You'll see the roles also, the role you're playing, the role they're playing. You know, they could be the special love turned into the special hate, or it could be the special hate now turning into the special love. It's irrelevant. So in all of this, if you, are not prepared to let completely, totality, everything in the story go, then what you're going to end up doing is you're going to forgive the same thought over and over and over again. Why? Because you're holding on to the story. So I just thought that might be a bit helpful for people when they're doing this. You know, it's just kind of some of the pitfalls that some people fall into, and that's one that I thought would be very beneficial to a lot of people. So I'm still open for questions if anybody wants to pop in. So over to you, Craig.
Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, as you were talking, it just kind of reminded me of this when we talk about forgiveness. The end, it seems like, is really we're forgiving or dismantling the misperception that we are actually this person, this separate identity. And so this forgiveness work, as you were sharing about forgiving, the story, not just the thought, it's like we're forgiving everything. I think for me, the challenging part, it seems like, in my experience, is underestimating the depth of forgiveness. So underestimating how that projection needs to be pulled way back. So it's like you talked about, it's not just about forgiving people, and we talked about it's not only just forgiving the projection and the thoughts, but it's really forgiving the identity, this separate self identity, this thought that I'm an actual person. It's really being willing to forgive that. And also, it's so funny because the thought system is so sneaky in that it's even forgiving the idea of knowing anything at all. So the thought of anything, we were talking about right or wrong before, the thought that any one way to awaken, or the judgment of what it needs to look like, all of that, this idea that there's actually a person speaking, saying, okay, this is the way, or this is it, or this is not it, like even that needs to be forgiven. All of it just needs to be brought all the way back to really an abstract place, or placeless place.
Yeah. Let me just could you knock off that? Could you knock back on in there? Yeah? That it?
You have feedback?
Yeah. No, that's it. Perfect now. Let me just show you this again, Craig, when it comes to forgiveness. You see, people, there's three types of forgiveness. Okay? There's forgiveness on each level. Okay? So again, let me show you this, right? Is level 1 forgiveness. It's called advanced true forgiveness, and this is where we bring back our projections. Okay? If you look at the psychotherapy part of the course, that's where Jesus says forgiveness is simply lifting back your dark projections. So that's forgiveness there, right? Then there's forgiveness in level 2. Forgiveness in level 2 is called complete forgiveness. And the difference between complete forgiveness and advanced true forgiveness is this. Advanced true forgiveness, you bring back your projections. It's reactionary, yeah? So you're reacting all the time to your projections. Isn't that right? So on level 2, if you want to really, really nullify the projections, where does your projections come from? They come from the body, the emotional pain body, as Eckhart Tolle would call it, that you don't deal with. So in complete forgiveness, it's where you become one with the body in the pain body. Now you bring that pain body to the truth. For example, is you see when someone hurts you, our first reaction is to blame someone. Okay? We're always looking for someone to blame. It's human nature, all right? So when you're in pain in the body, you'll blame other people, or you'll even blame the body. You know, you'll say this old body's getting old, it's getting sore, it's getting painful. That's all a rationalization. And everything that you rationalize, you keep. So every time that you rationalize your pain, you keep it. Every time you rationalize your love, you lose it. The rationalization is the biggest ego tool out there because it keeps the dream going for the ego. So what is a rationalization? A rationalization is this. It's an external excuse for an internal problem. So when you're upset inside, you're always looking, why am I upset? So you could blame someone else, or you can even blame yourself. And I just want to come back to this, Craig, about taking responsibility. Taking complete responsibility never means blaming yourself. That's the ego. Okay? Taking complete responsibility means I'm taking complete responsibility for everything that I see, everything that I feel. Okay? Why? It's because it's my experience. We're coming from me. Everything has to come from me. So when you look at forgiveness, right, you have here, you have ATF, Advanced True Forgiveness. Here you have complete forgiveness. And when you wake up here, you still have forgiveness. And it's called simple forgiveness. And there's only 3 simple little steps. And it has recognize, correct, and release. And that's it. And that is all one thought. But to get to that stage, you must use the other 2 types of forgiveness first. Because if you look at the Course, Jesus talks about complete forgiveness all over the Course. But ultimately, a lot of people don't understand what that means because they still keep thinking that he's talking about true forgiveness. So there are 2 different types of forgivenesses. So people need to realize there are 2 different levels that he's talking about. You see, everything that Jesus is talking, why the Course is so confusing for a lot of people is this. He's saying one thing in level 1, and he's saying a different thing in level 2, and he's saying a different thing in level 3. All in the one chapter, maybe all in the one paragraph. Do you know what I mean? Like, and this is why people can't make head nor tail of this book. And he says why throughout it. He says level confusion. And to be honest, I have spoken to a few people, you know, about the level confusion, and they go, "What level? What levels?" And if that's not level, yeah.
I was just gonna say, as you were just speaking, this just like came to my mind. Is like most books, and I think you may have shared this with me before, or said this, that most books are linear. So you start at one end and then you end at the other. It's a complete story. But this being, you know, the depth and breadth being on a vertical.
Yeah, it's like I said. Yeah, like I said to you, Craig, it's the world's first holographic book, in my opinion. I've never seen a book like it. It'll speak to you at any level. It'll speak to you on any chapter, any page, exactly what you need to hear. Sorry for, you know, because I want to claim that. And, you know, I want to claim that you know, that I said that was the world's first holographic book. I'm only joking.
Beautiful. Yeah. Yeah. And that just reminds us, or there's a recognition when we realize that that is, you know, a book with depth and breadth on a vertical axis, then we can recognize that this is an ascension of the mind. We're in the mind. So the Course no longer has to be this linear thing that we need to get through, or that's just about, you know, doing the 365 lessons. Yes, on one level, to your point, or what I believe you're sharing, is that may be true. It's 365 lessons and it's a calendar year. But at a deeper level, It's about taking the mind and raising raising it in its thinking.
That's right, that's right. And like what I have done with the information in my book, there's a lot of information on different levels. And what I've decided to do to finish off the book was because all of this information is there, and what people are going to say, how do I start? Where do I start? How do I put all of this together? So I finished off my book with 7 steps to heaven. It's called the Ascension Code. All right? So it's 7 simple steps that you must apply if you want. And this is just one path. You know what I'm saying? It's not, you know, I'm not telling people to do it my way. This is just one of millions and millions of ways to do it. But this is a way that I have been down this road. I have been through that hell. I know exactly where it is. I know exactly how to avoid it because I made all the mistakes, you know, in life. And what I do now is I help people to avoid making the mistakes that I made. And so I have come from experience rather coming from an intellectual mind. So what I finish off with is
I can't hear you. Michael, can you just unmute yourself? I don't know how. There you go.
Triscana muted me.
Okay, now there we go.
Right. I don't know now what I said and what I didn't say, so I'll let you finish off.
Cool, great. Well, we have about 3 minutes, so I just want to make this an opportunity for anybody who wants to jump in. It's the last opportunity before we wind up or start to wind down. Michael, I wanted to give also our audience an opportunity to find out what you have coming up. I know there's a conference in Ireland. If you can just share a little bit about how people can find out about that. And once again, let us know when we can find your book. What's out there? How do we keep in touch with you?
Okay. The conference in Ireland, yeah. Ooh, feedback there again, is there? Froze now. Hello? Can you hear me, Mark? Yeah. You back, Craig?
Yep, I'm here.
Oh, good. Craig's back.
Cool, cool. Yeah, yeah. Well, basically, what we have coming up in Dublin on the 9th and 10th of April, we have our international conference. We have a number of speakers coming in. We have Joe Wolf coming in from Chicago. We have Nick Davis from London. We have Steve Thompson, Carolina Karate from the Ibiza Light Festival. And we have a number of Irish speakers, my colleague Marie Gillig. We have Seamus Whitney. We have Patricia Black from Belfast. We have Eamon Perkins. And we have a guy from South Africa, a good friend of mine, Louis Falcao. So we have a great lineup, and people want to book it or look for more information, they can go to my website, acim.ie, or A Course in Miracles Ireland will bring you there. My book has been published today, 20th of April, so it should be up on Amazon by Friday, next weekend. It should be there on Amazon, if not before that. So I'll be putting up all the information on Facebook, on Google Hangouts, and everything else. So I'll let you know, Craig, and maybe then after you get a read of it, if you want to have a chat, we can come back and have another chat sometime in the future. So it's been wonderful, Craig. I want to thank you for having me on today. I really love this chat. You have a great show, and you're helping many, many people. And you have a great, from our talk the last day, what you're doing in Hawaii is amazing too. So I wish you really all the best in your future, and I'll see you back in heaven.
Beautiful. I want to thank you so much for taking the time. It's been such a joy, and I look forward to hearing about your book, reading your book, and maybe connecting with you at that point. I want to also thank everybody for joining us here. I appreciate your presence, and together we are unwinding our mind from fear and basking in the joy of what's true. So thank you for being in my happy dream, everybody. We'll be back here next week. Same time, and we'll see you then. I love you guys. Love you very much, and I appreciate your company.
Thank you, Craig. Thank you.